Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm Guan Hao, a PhD student of Xin Liu in Beijing University of Technology. I'm also visiting and studying from Renzo with the topological fluid dynamics in Milano Bicocca. Thanks, Renzo, again for everything and this amazing event. The work I'm going to present is a joint work with Simone Zucker and Xin Liu to do the numerical study on Borromean rings and try to produce new pathways and study the dynamics behind them. I'm also looking for advice and insights of this undergoing work. This report includes 5 parts. Firstly, I will briefly introduce why I want to research on pathways and their basic background. Then is the GPE and quantum vortices. Thirdly, I'll show my numerical experiment, how it's been designed. The fourth part are the results, including the evolution of quantum Borromean rings, the bifurcation graph within a slight change of initial condition, and the pathway map it gave us. The examples of energy transfer of typical pathways and a hypothesis about how energy transfers during the reconnection. In the end, I'll show the conclusions and discuss the difficulty I'm facing and how AI should apply to this map drawing project. I have also prepared several slides for further institution if anyone is interested. Now let's begin with the introduction. We have learned topological defects in quantum fluid with Professor Barngi and many other friends lecture. The property of superfluidity, no viscosity, vortices are confined in the line, have make the quantum fluid a more ideal model for study the hydrodynamics, especially vortices. In quantum fluids, vortices form topological structures, which are known as quantum knots and links. The parts of vortices move, twist, deform, and collide with each other, changing topology with a process called reconnection. The reconnection is so important that they are acting a key role in those complex systems evolution. The study of reconnection may help give a better understanding of Sentry's problem, turbulence. Another long-term motivation of this research is the evolution of the physical knots. Physical knots and links are well known to have cascade-like progress to decay from the high complexity to low complexity. During evolution, different decaying pathway will occur. In this fundamental aspect, quantum vortices bears analogies cross area from astrophysics flow, water, another normal fluid, and DNA. For the simple knots and links that have same sign on their polynomial power, toys like torus knots, toy models have been developed to give the optimal, or say the most possible pathway of multiple evolutional possibilities. But for more complex knots and links, which have different signs on their polynomials power, not only series remain empty, but also lack of known pathway to develop or verify the series. Drawing an evolution map with more complex configurations will help us to understand the mathematics and physics nature of those phenomena. To explore further, we have designed a series of quantum Borromean ring systems by observing the topological evolution progress of Borromean vortices. Multiple new pathways have been found. The energy and topology transformation have also been analyzed and going to be shown below. Before that, we should start with the quantum fluid and its governing equation, the Gross-Pitaevskii equation. One can use Schrödinger equation to describe the condensate particles, while adding a term for the interaction between the particles. This new linear Schrödinger equation become an approximate model to describe Bose-Einstein condensate. Its name is the Gross-Pitaevskii equation, known as GPE. The sign model square is the probability density of particles. For numerical research, it is recommended to use the dimensionless form. The Schrödinger equation can be transformed by the to the NS equation by Madelung transfer. One can quickly bring wave function field sign quantum mechanics into density and velocity in fluid dynamics, which brings superfluidity. The density of a vortex is a function of distance r to centerline. It goes to 0 only nearby the center. Quantum phase theta is unified distributed from 0 to 2 pi around the centerline. With this help, one can start to design quantum links. We'll start with one ring. For field point P, well, in the initial simulation domain, one can always find the closest point C at a given line or circle or ellipse. CP can, for any convex curve, if discontinuity in function Cp is only be found at finite points, it is likely to generate a stable vortex in numerical experiment for the curve by using the Borromean method. Borromean rings are well known as the picture on the left. But in fact, no three circles can form Borromean rings in R3. Still, fortunately, another closed plane curve should do the job, like ellipse. Here is an example of vortex Borromean rings formed by three ellipses. Let's give a try. Remember to keep enough distance between rings. By culturally choosing three ellipses to form Borromean ring as our simulation initial condition. A classic cascade evolution formed. On screen is the isodensity a graph of vortices. Let's zoom it up. Vortices move, twist, deform, and collide in the simulation box, changing topology with a series of reconnections. It forms a classic pathway. Firstly, vortices of Borromean rings deform slowly and get closer to each other, reconnect and change its topology into a Whitehead link. Then another reconnection happened. The Whitehead link became a trefoil knot. Then it's the Hopf link. Later, it became an N knot and twists itself into more pieces, which is more N knots. This is a known and classic pathway of physical Borromean rings evolution. I wonder, what if we put more symmetry in one's initial configuration as a baseline and see how new pathway will generate by move away from this baseline. For Borromean rings on the right, let's put delta theta to the initial one of the initial ellipse to see and see what happened. The follow is the short name for knots and links that may be used. Let's review the key part of this talk, the results. But before the simulation moves, let's play a game. This is a projection graph, a map of all possible untying pathways of an oriented Borromean rings. By apply the coherent band surgery mentioned by Koya, Each line presents a candle reconnection to disconnect one crossing of the original diagram. Vortices are also oriented due to their phase field. For each crossing, there are only two ways to connect, which means there are only one way left to disconnect them. Now, the first question. Make a guess. Guess about the evolution pathway of most symmetry initial Borromean rings. Have you chosen the choice? Okay, next. Second question, make another guess. When we move away from the baseline, which means rotate one ellipse at the initial condition a little, how the pathway will change? Then the last question, imagine how real pathway will different from this graph. Now let's begin to review the answer with small symmetry cases. The most symmetry cases. The case begins with 3 vertex rings lying on each vertical plane. 3 ellipses make a Borromean ring. After a few time, 3 reconnections happen at the same time. The Borromean ring have a head. The head ring flies away, leaves a trefoil knot behind. Later, inside the trefoil knot, another 3 reconnections happened at the same time, which become 2 knots. 3 rings move, crash, broken into pieces, chasing with each other and merging into 3 rings again. Then a small ring catch a bigger ring, collide and reconnect at 3 points in the meantime, become a trefoil knot again. Later, the trefoil breaks apart into 2 rings. 3 knots will continue to cascade. The above is a story of a highly symmetric quantum Borromean rings. Okay, let's say it's become the trefoil. Okay. This symmetry in 3 dimensions allows to reconnect at 3 points at the same time, make Borromean rings possible to directly jump from the Borromean rings to the trefoil knot plus 1 knot, which is a new cascade pathway. This property have also created an inverse cascade pathway. An inverse cascade is like docking a spacecraft. It requires high accuracy in reconnections. It is also my first time to knowing an inverse cascade after so many reconnections. Now, let's see what will happen if we disrupt this initial condition little by rotating this, Okay, by rotating this ellipse a little. The shadow in the picture is from the full symmetry Borromean rings we have presented in the previous slides. One of the ellipses of new Borromean ring have rotated for a small delta theta. Then the first 3 reconnections, the asymmetry starts to show its influence. Let's see closer. With Simone's help, I can draw the center line from the density field with the conformed by density graph and human eyes tracking. It's clear to see the number of vertices has changed, which make us believe there are intermediate state happens between the known passes. At t equals 22, there is a Whitehead link, and e equals to 23, there become a trefoil. Let's go back to the previous graph. What will happen if one big step of 3 reconnections becomes 3 small steps? Of course, the intermediate state will occur. So after the Borromean rings, we have the Whitehead links and the trefoil node, single trefoil node. Then is the trefoil node plus 1 anode. The same story will happen at the preceding cascade of anodes, trefoil node. It almost breaks into anodes immediately, but still has an intermediate state for Hopf link and 1 anode for only 2 simulation seconds. Compared with the cascade progress, the small change in initial condition has bigger influence on the inverse cascade. As you can see in the movie, the head ring we mentioned before is running out of simulation box, but it doesn't bother because what we concern is the left. The main part of the vortices are still far from the boundary. So let's focus on that. The inverse cascade didn't happen like before. It's not becoming a trefoil node. Instead, it's becoming a Hopf link. The Hopf link only has a length of 4 simulation seconds, while the previous inverse trefoil plus 1 anode has 27 seconds of life. This is what the whole pathways look like. The shadow is the intermediate state. The change in symmetry not only levels down the inverse topology, but also make it shorter. So far, we have the right arm of the treasure map. If we put one more delta theta, the cascade pathway will remain the same, but there will be 2 differences. First difference is the intermediate state, Whitehead link, single trefoil, and Hopf link. They are having a longer time. The second difference is the inverse of the cascade have disappeared. Without the precision of docking a spacecraft, it requires more lucky to make another inverse cascade happen. This is the time sequence we have so far. The 3 pi of 48 is similar to the 2 pi of 48, so we will jump that. As for the 4 pi of 48 is a special one. It is an intermediate pathway between the previous candle pathway and the later one. So it has a unique special pathway. The Borromean rings cascade into Whitehead link quickly fell into trefoil node. The original pathway was from the trefoil to a Hopf link, but it didn't. It's reduced to a single trefoil, then quickly become a Hopf link. The Hopf link quickly reconnect into 1 anode, then a Hopf link. It twists into a Hopf link and an anode. While the anodes twist and break, then the Hopf link reconnect into another anode. Here are the pathways we have so far. The pathways from 5 pi of 48 to 9 is the same. So 9 for 9, for example, the pathway becomes a trefoil to a Hopf link. But for 10 pi of 48, which is close to the 9 pi, the pathways begins to be different. As you can see in those 2 pictures, their geometry is basically the same, but they are sharing the different topology. The last one is having a not sum of the Hopf plus and Hopf of negative. This is the bifurcation graph we have so far. And the major actors. Let's look back to the treasure map. Have you made the right choice? Now let's discuss the energy transfer during this process. The energy of GPE have three components: the kinetic, potential, inner energy or interaction energy. The total energy and mass of this system is conserved, and the potential energy is equal to minus half mass, which makes it conserved as well. So the loss of the kinetic energy is equal to the change in inner energy. So we can use the inner energy to the change of inner energy to show the energy transfer in the system. As shown on the screen is the energy transfer of the first system, which have the vertical ellipses to consist a symmetry Borromean ring. Every vertical line here stands by a reconnection. At the beginning, kinetic energy transfer into inner energy very fast. Then it goes down and up again and again. In the cascade progress, reconnections of topological structures tends to happen at a local maximum. Each topological structure has a canyon in inner energy, which means a mountain in kinetic energy. But in the inverse cascade, like this trefoil, it has a small mountain. In the pink part is three stable anodes of the inverse progress. It has a inverse way, a big head, or say a big mountain. Similar things happen for the first disruption. The cascade reconnect happen at the maximum of inner energy, but the inverse happens on the inflect point. The pink mountain have also go more flat, but the blue mountain goes narrow, but with the same height. The 2 pi of 48 is the same without inverse cascade, while the trivial reconnection happens everywhere. The intermediate pathway, 4 pi of 48, is more complicated, especially in the area with different Hopf links. For the links have been much more rotated. The Whitehead links born earlier. The yellow highlight is the examples have been shown. I want to make a guess like this. For example, nodes can be classified into three types according to the sign of their polynomial. And according to the different nodes, they may prefer different kinds of energy. But in fact, we have to admit the influence of reconnections on the whole GPE system is limited. The mean energy curve didn't move due to the time of reconnections. Still, by seeing different topology system with close geometry, we can tell the difference, which is the influence of topology. For example, for the inverse cascade of first two examples, they have same energy, mountain, different from other examples. The difference also shown in other examples make the topology influence on system energy due in fact by the knot type, but we will still need more research into it. Let's go to the last part, conclusion and outlook. I have made numerical simulation of GPE for the Borromean rings. New pathways have been found, including 3 inverse pathways after many reconnections. The strong dependence of the pathways on the initial condition can be shown by mismatch the symmetry version of Borromean rings. Topological impact on energy do exist, but limited, require further research. This research still has many things to do in the future. On one hand, it requires more cases or configurations to show how the general evolution is. On the other hand, more analysis needs to be done for each case. For example, how do the energy transfer with a different topology but with similar geometry? We also need to calculate the topological and geometry values like twists or Ys. We also have difficulty to recognize reconnections by human check. It is too time-consuming since we are going to working on so many cases. Maybe it's a good idea to involve self-learning technology or AI instead. Thank you very much.